Should you buy a DSLR? Three things we're going to be looking into this video. First, the extra cost of owning one, because it's not just about that camera. There are a lot of extra costs in time and in money. Number two, this is what you're all here for. You want to see those compare shots, right? Okay, so we're going to be doing my old Sony Alpha NEX, which is a cheap DSLR crop sensor. Then we're going to be doing my iPhone 10. And then we're going to be doing my new Sony a7 III, which is the camera I'm using to shoot right now. And then finally, is a DSLR worth it for you? Is the trip where you're going or the type of photo that you're taking something that you can do with a DSLR or that maybe you can pull off with an iPhone? So take me, for example, I started this YouTube channel a couple months ago and I make travel videos. And then you're asking, well, Kaya, but this is not a travel video. Is it though? Because those compare shots, we're gonna go shoot them in New York City. So the truth is, I have to go to New York this weekend because we're shooting a new commercial for my company, Slightbeam. But this seemed like a great opportunity to talk about point number one, which is the extras, the extra effort and time and money that you need to carry your DSLR gear. Unrequested travel tip, travel with a jacket with a lot of zipper pockets. You can just put everything there, throw the jacket in the bin, grab it after through with security, and you're done pretty fast. If you're traveling with a DSLR, chances are soon enough you're gonna be stuck with a bag like this. Now, are there smaller bags to carry your DSLR? Absolutely. Can you just get away with a pouch? Absolutely, yes. But the point of owning the DSLR is the ability to use extra lenses or to use a tripod or to use filters. And all that stuff requires you to commit and adapt to carrying these extra baggage. Now, if you just carry your DSLR with the standard default lens, no extra lenses and nothing else, absolutely it'll fit in a small bag, but there's an argument that we're gonna find out soon on whether you can take similar quality photos with your iPhone. I don't know, we'll see. Good morning. So yesterday during the trip, there was a very classic inconvenience of DSLRs, which is that my sensor got dirty, which is a perfect example of another issue with DSLRs, which is you have to keep their sensors clean. And I'm not carrying sensor cleaning materials. So luckily we're in New York and we're gonna go buy some. So today's a really shitty day for photos, but sometimes that's what you get when you're traveling. So some ground rules for this shoot. I don't think that anybody can argue that a DSLR can get better photos than an iPhone if you use it in the right conditions. But we're gonna replicate iPhone conditions now. So we're only gonna use focal lengths that the iPhone supports, which is 22 millimeters for the wide lens and 55 millimeters for the telephoto lens. It's literally what a DSLR can do in its standard settings if you're not carrying any special gear. Apples to apples comparison. Let's see what happens. Prospect number one, this is the Domino Sugar Factory. It seemed like a perfect opportunity to compare the sharpness of each of these cameras. So take a look at the original raw version of the photo. This is a very bad photo, please don't look at it anymore. And now this is the fixed version of that photo in Lightroom. So yeah, a lot of work in Lightroom here. Why? Because we have this really blown out white, boring sky. And what I try to do here is reduce the exposure of the sky and apply some warmer temperature and some pinkish tint so that we can get some color and some life into the sky. Now this is really important. The flexibility that Lightroom gives you when you have raw photos is amazing, and you can turn this into this. Now comparing each camera, this is the a7 III version, this is the Sony Alpha NEX version, and this is the iPhone version. And if you're watching this video on an iPhone, you are probably not going to notice the difference between those three photos. If you zoom in really deep, that's when you start seeing the differences. Notice how the a7 III retained pretty much every single detail on the bricks. While the Sony Alpha NEX, it retained some detail and the iPhone pretty much lost everything. That's what I meant when I said, what are you doing with these photos? If this is going on Instagram, nobody's going to know the difference. Let's move on. Prospect number two is Tacocina, which is this really cool taco joint that they have in this Domino Park. All three cameras were able to retain color fairly well. If you zoom in, and if you're looking at this in a 4K TV, for example, and this is a 4K video, by the way, yeah, maybe you'll see the difference. And once again, on this landscape scenario, not a lot of difference. Now, looking at these food shots, this is when you start seeing some difference in the details. Check out how the background is completely blurred out. Why? Because we're using a full frame lens. And the bokeh on that lens is actually not too great by DSLR standards. This is the kit lens, remember? But it was able to completely erase the background. Check out this glass on the left, how it It's not distracting at all. While on the iPhone version, the glass is still too much in focus and it pulls attention away from the focal area of the photo. Also check out the background, it's completely visible and it's a little bit blurred out, but not too much. Now I didn't use portrait mode here, mostly because I forgot. But remember what portrait mode does is it artificially blurs that out. And it overall works pretty well, and I can make a video about that later. Check out this Ramen, not a lot of elements in the background to blur out. So overall, pretty good. Some differences in the lighting, because this was a dimly lit joint. This is Ippudo Ramen, which is actually pretty good. You do see some noise on the iPhone version, but nothing too serious. Now, the biggest difference I noticed was in night photography. Now this is way far apart. Now here's the iPhone version, here's the Sony Alpha Nex version, and here's the A7 III version. Now, what's the problem with the iPhone version? It's too shaky, right? So the aperture on the lens and the ISO that the iPhone supports, it's not enough to capture good lighting on the cityscape. This was one of probably 10 or 15 shots, and all the other ones are all blurry. So this was the one that was okay. So the DSLR camera shots I did handheld, I didn't put them on any tripod or anything. Just so you can compare, here's a shot on the Sony A7 III with a 90mm super sharp, I love my new macro lens, standing on a tripod. And check out all the detail that you can get when you expose for 1 second versus just a fraction of a second. And you can manipulate this photo drastically. I came up with this little time-lapse thing because you have a tripod, right? And you can place that camera and do all that. I want to play a game now. Let's see if you can spot the difference between the iPhone and the A7 III photo. Check these out. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Look closely, get a bigger screen. Okay, so number 1 is the iPhone photo, number 2 is the A7 III, and number 3 is the Sony Alpha Nex. Did you guess that right? So moving on to takeaways. If you're just getting started with photography, my best suggestion is save your money for now. You can use your iPhone or whatever phone you own and start shooting RAW and start making yourself a habit of editing those photos in Lightroom. I can make another video, quick tutorial on the basic stuff of how Lightroom works. But what's important here is that you'll make yourself a habit of shooting in RAW, minding some better composition, and then start experimenting. And then use Lightroom to just get a lot out of your photos without having to buy a DSLR. As you can see, in landscape photography, you have to look closely to notice the difference. In close-ups, yeah, the bokeh makes a difference, but maybe you can cheat a little bit with iPhone portrait mode, which again, I forgot to test. And then if you're shooting night photos, yeah, iPhone's probably not gonna pull it off. I don't know about other brands, I don't know. When you save money for a DSLR, or if you've already saved money for a DSLR, my suggestion is make sure that whatever you spend allows you to save some money for some accessories. If you really wanna squeeze everything out of that camera that you just bought, you're gonna need some basic stuff, I'll show you. A pouch. This is my Think Tank pouch. This is $150, which is rather expensive, but Amazon makes an Amazon Basics version of this, and it's pretty much the same thing. So it has some really nice divisions inside, a bunch of little slots so you can fit a lot of stuff, and a couple lenses in there. Another suggestion, you should buy a GorillaPod. I think $49 for a heavy-ish DSLR. If you have a lighter camera, it's a little cheaper. Again, a really useful thing. It just stands anywhere, and you can wrap these legs and put it anywhere, and then you can start standing your camera, which means you can start experimenting with longer exposures. Or if you're shooting photo at night, you can just place your camera there and allow it to expose for maybe 1-2 seconds and really get the details out of that photo. And this is just very portable. Next up, lenses. Playful, interesting lenses that you can start playing with. So normally, the kit lens that a DSLR will include is an 18-55 or 28-70. What that means is just the focal length, how close objects look, if it's a wide photo or a zoomed in photo. But again, the kit lens, like we saw, it's not that different from what the iPhone can offer. A couple of extra lens suggestions. You can buy something like this. This is a 75-300 lens. So if you're interested in taking some photos of animals or birds or stars, you can use this because it'll really zoom in these objects for you. Some really cooler lens, so you can start experimenting, playing around without the camera. I really love this little thing. This is a 16mm prime lens, so it doesn't zoom in. You can't zoom in or zoom out. It's just 16mm. So it's really wide. I've started using it for my videos, and then I can hold my camera just like this, and then I'll be in focus, and my face will fit in the frame. But it's really cool when you want to shoot architecture because it really creates this depth effect, and it'll let you fit a lot more things in the frame. And most importantly, it'll let you experiment with just different focal lengths and what you can do, and switching lenses and dealing with the dirty sensor stuff. All right. Okay, so this is my new 90mm Sony Macro, and I love this thing. It's expensive though. A macro lens allows you to do is to zoom in really, really, really closely to objects. Check some of these photos. So I'm really excited about the potential of this little thing. Another advantage is that it's not only for macro photography, it'll still focus any object even though it's further away. So it's a little bit of a zoom telephoto lens. And it's also a great portrait lens because the aperture of the lens, which is how much the lens actually opens up when you're shooting the photo, the aperture of this lens is really, really wide, which means that the bokeh, the blurriness of the background is really good. So if you're shooting portrait with this, it's great. It's just like this multi-functional lens. And those are all the lenses that I own. I don't know that many. Yeah. Last but not least, this is a variable filter. It's dirty. No. Anyway, you put this in front of the camera, just in front of the lens like this. So I've known about these little guys for a while, but I only recently found out that they made them in variable density. So normally what you get is like an 8-stop filter, and then you put that on the camera and then it just darkens everything. And maybe you wanted a longer exposure, so you need to change and find another one, or maybe it's too dark and you need to switch. But these little things, they just change that. So check out how this gets a lot darker and then lighter, right? So it's really useful just to carry one of these around. If you're shooting photos in the day, or if you want to make, again, some silky water sort of effect, you just put that on the camera and it'll probably be enough to expose for 1-2 seconds, even if the sun is shining outside. I think that's it. Are you gonna buy the DSLR? Don't leave without subscribing. Let me know what you think in the comments and tell me what do you want me to compare next. See you next week.